"8 feet minus 9 feet tall BF throws heavy objects, screams, and chases. Witness year, 1987 season. Fall month, October. State, Indiana County. LaPorte County. Location details. This was located just outside of the Kingbury Fish and Game Wildlife Refuge. Nearest town, Stillwell. Nearest road, Highway 104. Observed. In October of 1987, a friend and I went camping just outside of Kingsbury Ordnance Plant, KOP for short, in Kingsbury, in. We were about 1 to 11/2 of a mile off Hupp Road, which is the road that enters KOP. We set up camp just before dark around 6 p.m. or so. After about 45 minutes, my friend went home to eat dinner and call another friend of ours to come out when he gets off duty. Just around dusk, while getting fire started, I heard rustling in woods about 25 yards away. I didn't think anything of it at the time, and because of the population of deer out in that area, I thought it might be one. After about 10 minutes, heard noise again, but it was about 15 yards away this time. I yelled "Hey, reel load," and the noise stopped for about 5 minutes. Then I heard grunting about same distance away. Getting nervous, I yelled again, "Knock it off." I then picked up a stick and said, "I have a gun." The noise stopped after 3 or 4 seconds, and as I turned to look at fire, I heard a loud thump to my right. I looked and saw a large tree stump that landed about 8 feet away. I turned around and faced woods and yelled very loudly, "Knock it off or I'll shoot." I then saw another large log come sailing through the air toward my direction and land about 3 feet in front of me and about 5 feet to left. I started running down a trail toward the road. I did not hear anything for about the first 100 yards, and then I heard rocks moving as if someone was running in the same direction as I, but they were on the RR tracks to my left. The sounds of the steps were about 1 second apart. I heard this for about 8 to 10 seconds. Then it stopped. I ran for about 25 more yards and stopped. It was dark and overcast skies, but still there was enough light to see where I was running. I turned and looked behind me and then to my left and saw nothing. I then turned back toward the road and focused on the street light ahead. Walking very fast now, I came to a dip in the trail. This is where I saw it, a large figure standing in front of me. The dip in the trail sloped down to about 3 feet deep and ran the depth for about 30 feet. Then it rose again to ground level. The figure was standing in the center of the dip in the trail and stood at the same height as myself. I am 5 feet 9 inches, so the figure had to be from 8 to 9 feet tall. This thing let out the most God-forsaking scream, that it would make your blood curdle. I did what any normal person would have done. I took off running toward my right through an open field. I ran as fast as I could away from this figure. I finally reached my friend's front steps about 3/4 of a mile away. At first I thought it was him, but when he came to door he had been eating dinner. His shoes were off, and his mom said that he had not left the house. After he ate and our other friend arrived, we all went back out there about 3 hours later. The small tent we put up had been torn down, and logs and stump that were thrown were lying in the spots that they landed. I have never forgotten this. For years I have dreams, nightmares I call them, about the creature and that terrible scream. Till this day I am still scared to go out there. Also noticed, I have heard stories of things that have happened in the area around KOP, but nothing that I can remember. Other witnesses. No physical witnesses to the incident itself, but my brother and my friend saw how scared I was after this happened. My brother said that I was pale and still crying the next day when he came home. Other stories. Nothing. Time and conditions. It was around 7 to 7:30 p.m. It was dark and overcast skies, but still there was enough light to see where I was running. Environment. There were woods near my location and fields behind the woods. KOP was to my right and was a densely wooded area. Follow-up investigation report. Several phone conversations with the witness's brother, and the witness himself, provided consistent and credible report. The witness is still bothered with dreams of the incident. Midwest investigator, K.C. Charnes.
Bow hunter has possible encounter while in his tree stand near LaPorte year, 2008 season, fall month, October date, 8 STATE, Indiana County, LaPorte County location details. Willing to take to location for verification of story. Property belongs to friend and is my own private hunting grounds, so I do not care to turn it into a carnival. Nearest town, Mill Creek. Nearest road, County Road 800. Observed. I was deer hunting in a small woods that bordered a swampy area. The entire woods is on a 45-degree angle leading down to the swamp except the small bowl-like section 1 was hunting in. The spot is very thick with pawpaw trees which provide ample cover for wildlife till about mid-November. I was sitting in my tree stand about 20 feet off the ground. It was after 5 p.m., which is what I refer to as magic time because that is when the deer start to move in the evening. As the last rays of light had begun to fall onto the forest floor, 2 deer shot out from the brush behind me. They seemed nervous and kept looking back behind my tree. I thought maybe a buck was following them, so I nocked an arrow and prepared to see a large buck walk out of the brush from behind me. Then it hit me, the ungodly stench. It kind of smelled like garbage or like someone had lifted the lid on a septic tank. It was awful. Then a log flew out from the brush behind me and struck the tree I was in at the base. I nearly soiled my britches. I turned to look behind me and whatever it was, it ran off busting through the underbrush and I never got a clear look at what it was. It let out a blood-curdling scream as it ran off. I froze, not believing what had just happened. I waited for at least an hour before I got down to walk back to my truck. Other witnesses. Only myself. Time and conditions. Between 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. as the last rays of sunlight touched the ground. Environment. Hardwood forest bordering a swamp. Follow-up investigation report by BFRO investigator Eric Lester. After speaking with the witness about his experience, the following details can be added. It was only a number of minutes between noticing the stench and the log hitting the tree. The deers were very nervous during this time. What he saw moving through the brush as it ran off was at least as big as a human, though he could discern no details. The log that was thrown at his tree was rotten, about 2 feet long by 1 foot wide. The scream was heard from the far end of the woods, about 45 seconds after the creature ran off. He says it would have taken him about 5 minutes to walk to the area where the scream sounded from. He described the scream as a deep tone, very unique, and rising in pitch near the end of the scream. The area of the forest he was in is described as a travel route for wildlife, being small and narrow. Terrain is very wet, almost swampy in areas. The pawpaw trees mentioned are small, clustered trees with large leaves and fruit, native to North America. This type of tree includes the largest edible fruit indigenous to our continent. They are understory trees in hardwood forests found in well-drained deep fertile bottomland and hilly upland habitat.